Hello and welcome to the show. We are here today on BeamNG Drive. We have some more vehicles being driven till destruction, and we start with the Vertex. Now, I've got a rally spec of the car. This is the gravel spec, so it's got a decent amount of ground clearance, which is going to be useful. Really, for this sort of a course. For the Vertex, well, for any car to stand a chance around here, you're going to need a good suspension on the most part, because this is a very punishing circuit. Now, it is of course designed for jumps and bumps, which is great. There are some downsides to rally cars. Whoa, like that, for example. That has immediately snapped. Oh no, it's pinged back in. So, downside to rally cars, number one, is while they have quite good suspension, what we are asking the car to do here is ridiculous for even a rally car. And because that suspension often gives them a little bit more ground clearance, it is sometimes a little bit more liable to, well, braking in unusual ways. We have got a problem with the front left. So that higher ride height can lead to the car rolling over. Sometimes the softer suspension actually leads to the car bouncing around. In this case, it's led to the wheel managing to fold up under itself, which isn't particularly great. Of course, all-wheel drive, that is helpful. You know, if we lose a drive line, if you lose, drive to the front or to the rear, we can still carry on, because the other one shall hopefully work. I mean, we've lost a tyre, that's no big deal. The bumpers come off, that's quite helpful. Yeah, we've got some serious issues with that front wheel. Something, it's not broken in the normal way, in a conventional sort of way, so to speak. It's broken, it's just kind of, every so often it pings itself in, and then it sorts itself out. The other thing with rally cars is if the suspension does start failing, it tends to just fail catastrophically, and then it's game over quite quickly. You don't get much give with the suspension. It's either working or it's completely gone. But we will have to wait and see, because different cars behave a little bit differently on that. This section here is nasty for the vehicles to try and get around through all of these potholes and all of these bumps. It's made a lap. Outside of the weirdness with the front left wheel, it's not actually looking in too bad a condition. The other thing with rally cars you do get is because they are so quick, they can sometimes, even when quite heavily damaged, still be able to go pretty fast. That can get them into a little bit more trouble. Although this course, unlike some of the other destruction circuits, not as damaging to the cars. Well, I say not as speed dependent. So the going quickly bit is probably unlikely to damage the car, because you simply cannot go as quick around this circuit for a lot of it. Some places you can, but you don't really ever pick up that much speed. It's difficult for that to be an issue, I suspect. The front left is still ducking down a bit around these corners. It definitely snapped something while heading over that section. We got the radiator. I mean, oh, that's a bigger problem. Now, I said it should be able to drive. Can you drive as a front-wheel drive? It doesn't really like it. Now, depending on the way the power is split and the way this thing is done, sometimes when you do lose a drive shaft, the car has issues. I am not sure. I don't even think this is going to be able to climb these hills, really. Yeah, we have big problems. I mean, it's overheating. Can I... What is it doing with all its power? Now, I don't know whether it's the tyre. No, there's something wrong. Now, we will give the car a chance. We will give the Vertex a chance here to sort itself out. If it can. Just, we've allowed cars that get beached, so it is a bit beached. It will have to be able to prove that it can get up to 20 miles an hour, and honestly, I'm not even sure about that. I'm not sure it can get up to 20 miles an hour. I'm not sure it can get past the obstacles. I mean, it's had a shot. The engine's going to blow up anyway. That is going to be a drive failure. Well, I was settling in for a long run. I did think that was going to have certainly a longer run than that, but an awkward bump essentially just took out the drive, and my thoughts of all-wheel drive car should be able to go as a two-wheel drive car, it couldn't. Obviously, the way the power goes through it was not having any of it. Essentially, that's the end of the Vertex, and that was not a particularly long survival. Up next, we have got a H series. This is the H25. It's a long wheelbase passenger version, so it's got an alright amount of power. It's not the heaviest version you can get. All-wheel drive is included. Now, that is likely to be helpful with this, because one of the big concerns with a long wheelbase vehicle and these larger vehicles is front engine rear-wheel drive leads to a very long drive shaft going underneath that's quite easy to break. Now, the H series, the van, is traditionally pretty strong for these, so the hope is it'll stand a good chance of doing well. Whether it's going to be able to go to the top, I don't know, but it is likely to be a strong vehicle, this one. That being said, of course, there's a lot of weight in this. There's a lot of momentum behind it, so when it does hit the ground like that, for example, the forces going through the vehicle are quite high. It's got heavy-duty suspension, yes. However, you're still asking a lot of it. Whatever we're doing, it's still asking a huge amount for a vehicle. So I'm not sure how it's going to fare around here. I suspect the heavy-duty stuff isn't going to like this course, because there's a lot of low-speed, quite hard impacts. But, I mean, you never know. Sometimes you are surprised by stuff, like the Gambler Piccolina that just didn't want to give up going around here. That section is so horrible to try and get. There's no real good way to get that section, I don't think. I've tried a bunch of different ways. Here we've got to be, I say slightly careful. It smacks back down on the front. Go too fast over there and you're just jumping into the wall. And then down here, I mean, we've got enough speed. It's actually not the worst accelerating vehicle. This course isn't particularly speed dependent a lot of the time. If anything, you need to slow down for sections. God, that is just horribly just being shook from side to side all the way through that bit. But yeah, when it gets going, it picks up some pace. Steering's been a little bit knackered on this. These kind of hits probably aren't going to do too much to it. So a couple of downsides with heavy-duty suspension. Of course, it is strong, which is great. It's what you want. Downside number one is it can be a bit bouncy. I was expecting to see that more with the rally car. We never really got to that point with the rally car. But yeah, this heavy-duty suspension can bounce the vehicle about. The other potential problem is when it does die, it tends to die very spectacularly and quite catastrophically. The front doesn't look healthy already. The front right, in particular, does not look like it's got any suspension left. That is a real concern, and not one I expected to have this early on. Now, of course, sometimes you just land a jump awkwardly and you get into trouble, but I was not expecting to see that level of damage on the suspension straight away. If we keep landing, the front left is okay. So we're going to try and aim for the front left over these jumps. Not really what we want. You don't really want to be landing on either corner. The concern with the suspension completely collapsed like that is important bits are now going to hit the floor. So things like the subframe, things like the oil pan, radiator, are now potentially going to be a lot more exposed to damage than you would want them to be on the second time around, considering this is expected to be a tough vehicle. It is not. That front is completely gone. Oh, that's a problem. That is a really big problem. Van, try and keep that oil pan. If the front left can continue to sort of take the impacts for a while... yeah, my concern for this for a while was sort of steering and potentially even drive shaft, but now the concern is really the front right corner. Even things like speed bumps, for example, because it's just got no give in it, that could well just send a shock through the front subframe, taking out oil pan. Could take out the radiator as well. Radiator, preferable to oil pan, you get a little bit more of life out of your vehicle with that gone. Oh, there we go. We can still land. We can still jump it into the water. That's fine. This section is going to be a bit... Actually, no, it's not too bad through there. It's the rear... I can't decide whether the rear suspension's going as well, and that is the oil pan gone. That was the real concern, is that it's just going to be hitting the front subframe with that level of damage on the front corner. Well, the door has come off. That's fine. The bodywork, and the frame is always going to take damage, right? With this, I'm okay with that. And honestly, sometimes you kind of want the damage going through. It's better if the damage bends the roof than if the damage bends a wheel, for example. And we've seen it before with the big heavyweights, with the vans and the trucks and whatnot. Yeah, the impact does go through the whole bodywork. Oh, that's going to land again on that corner. I mean, now the oil pan's gone, I'm sort of... Ooh, I say throwing caution to the wind. We're trying to make as much distance as possible. If I lose control of the vehicle and crash it, well, I say so be it. There's... Oh god, yeah, and that's why you cut this course. It's so technical and so fiddly. The old rules of gotta go as fast as you can are actually quite difficult to follow here, because it's so easy to make a mistake and just plow the car into something solid. So I mean, we're gonna try and make as much distance as I can with this. With the oil pan out, I mean, if the radiator goes, doesn't really matter. The oil will be the bigger concern. Now, it's possible it's only got a small oil leak. That does happen. But even then, it might only save you a lap. If it's a small oil leak compared to a completely catastrophic oil leak, we are just bouncing our way along on that front wheel, aren't we? It's quite... Yeah, I don't know what... I'm not sure what hit did that. I mean, the chassis is starting to banana a little bit, as you would expect from this long wheelbase vehicle. But yeah, that hit, taking out that suspension that early on, is unfortunate, but it is always a potential problem for a vehicle like this, is having that suspension going. It's I would imagine just the weight crashing down on that front corner. Even though I swear we've hit the front left harder many more times, and that is still connected. Well, that way actually got up quite nicely that time around. Carried some speed. Again, through there. That will do. Big clonk on the landing. And the clonks feel 10 times worse with this, because that front corner has absolutely zero give in it. If we get the... Here we go. Try and aim for the water section, basically. Oh, the water is a bit nicer a landing. And you get some cooling going on. Oh, have we got steering? Yeah, I mean, steering's definitely not as good as it once was. Actually, yeah, steering is definitely not as good as it once was. We have still got steering. Oh, God, don't aim. Don't go. Oh. Yeah, we've got steering issues. I take back slightly what I said. It pulls very badly to the right. I almost have to steer full lock left at all times to get this around. Oh, no. Okay. Yeah, you really do have to be full lock to the left. We almost ended up in the big red sort of concrete barrier. I presume they're solid. Do not want to hit them. Oh, don't slide off there. Well, we're just going to take whatever... At the moment, we're almost at the point of just wherever the van is pointing, we've got to go for it. Whether it's not a perfect line, whether it's not a good line for a jump, we have to accept the fact that we need to turn that way, because my steering is severely damaged. We could actually do with a hit that bends it the other way. Damaged steering racks do sometimes... They don't get better. You can sometimes bend them the other way to counteract the damage. I say rarely happens, but can do. We have seen it a few times in these series. Oh, that hit there is on the underside. That's a nasty hit on the underside of the van, but a lot of the damage has already been done at this point. Come on, van. Although the engine's holding on pretty well, if I'm honest with you. I say that, and I'm sure it's going to start giving up at some point. It's really a question of, will the steering fail before the engine? And I'm not sure which... See, like there, for example, you can... If you get a bit of speed, you don't clonk the nose in the ground as hard, but then you clonk the suspension very, very hard. Come on, around we go. It's another lap for the van. Yeah, I'm almost full left lock the whole way here. If that takes one more hit, if that gets bent even a little bit more, I don't know if I can still make these corners. But for now, it's working. There's no real good way. I mean, if we were steering full lock left and hit the ground with a wheel, we might be able to bend it. But, oh, no. Don't fall down there. Oh, that's really bad. The options were pretty poor whichever way I went there. I either fell off the bridge and hit the thing, or we actually ended up having a quite bad crash going down there. It has actually made the steering considerably better. It's made the suspension considerably worse, but the steering's better. All of the front end is now completely gone in terms of suspension. Heavy, heavy impact damage to a lot of that. I mean, yeah, the clonking on that pipe has done a number to it. That is steering damage for you, though. When you end up with a vehicle that is struggling to turn, you cannot line up for the jumps sometimes. And there is the fear, is that when you can't line up for the jumps, you end up in that sort of scenario. I'm astonished this thing has still got steering, to be honest. Whoa, okay, not get the line I wanted to at all there. Engine stuck. Well, the engine's been starved of oil for the oil pans had issues for ages, so maybe that obviously hasn't chucked all the oil out in the way that I expected it to. The van is still going. Steering now is dicey, to say the least. Come on, get through. Oh, no. Now, okay, I think I know what's happening, maybe. With the front having no suspension at all, as it goes off a jump, the front kind of just goes off the jump, and the back hits it and bounces into the air, which is really not helping us with flight sort of paths, with flying flat and level. I'm kind of at the mercy with what this van wants to do now. Oh dear. Please turn left. Please turn left. It's very much struggling to turn left. I don't know if it's completely gone. Do we still have? We still have some left steering. I mean, we bounced a bit wide on the jump landing. We could do with one of these jumps, bending the steering back. Go on, van. Uh-oh. This could be the end for the van. It would have definitely landed on that front wheel. Now, dig the van out of the water. We do vaguely. No, not really. No, we don't steer left anymore. Don't actually. Well, we barely steer right. That is full lock left. That is completely gone. There is no left-hand steering. We do steer to the right in a weird sort of a way. It's not really even proper steering anymore. The suspension's so broken at the front that the wheels are barely... With the engines, doesn't look like it's very well attached in there anyway. Yeah, steering damage. I mean, it's just continual steering damage. It fell off the jump at an awkward angle, yes, but the vehicle was so tough to steer, it can never get those... Can't sort of keep doing those properly, essentially. Yeah, heavy steering damage for the van. An impressive run, though. An impressive run, nevertheless. And finally, we have got a Miramar. This is the Lux version, so it's not quite the base spec one. It's nothing crazy special. I think it might struggle here. I'm going to be honest with you. I do think this is going to have a difficult time around this circuit. It is a punishing track. I'm not sure this car's engine is going to enjoy it, or drive shaft. Now, old school suspension, the old Wobblematic suspension, is generally quite good for these sorts of things. However, I don't think this car has a big enough ride height to really be able to make the most of that Wobblematic suspension. Now, I could be wrong. Sometimes I am wrong. Sometimes vehicles surprise you, and it would be great if this was one such vehicle that could surprise me. Whoa. Set it up for the jump as nice as possible. Yeah, be great to see it do well, but we will have to wait and see. I think it's all of these little pits that are going to be the Miramar's problem. It's just likely to clonk the radiator, clonk the oil pan. The fuel tank, is the fuel tank in this? I presume it's at the back. Don't know if that's likely... Don't know if that's something that could get hit. I mean, it absolutely is something that could get hit in this series. Stuff has gone out with the fuel tank rupture. I can't remember whether Miramar's is particularly easy to rupture or not. Come on, over that section we go. It has got a terrible diff. It is squealing its way away with that one tyre fire, but we are heading towards the containers for the first time. It's not very quick, this car. Trying to go for the speed approach for any of these is not really looking plausible. Oh God, there's just a lot of Miramar being thrown about over these bumps. Of course, compared to the H Series, I mean, the bumps are just so much bigger for this car. Can we get the speed? We really want the nose up in the air for that landing. I mean, it looks like it's going to survive a lap without radiator damage or oil pan damage. Now, let's not speak too soon. Let's not speak too soon in this one. But we have made a lap. It will not be last place, which is quite impressive, actually. It was one of those vehicles that I don't know. I don't know what to expect from it, I should say. I don't know how it's going to fare. It could do well. I'm not expecting it. I'm not expecting it to, but we are through lap 1. There's definitely some damage on the front end of the car. Oh, yeah, getting through there. When you get it right, it's great fun through that section. When you get it wrong, it's quite scary. And on that case, we are sort of on the borderline of getting it right. Now, and there goes the oil pan. That section is surprisingly mean. I don't know what it is. I think it must be the speed bumps down there, just at an angle that are enough to catch cars out. Especially, I think it might have lost the front right suspension. Like it's fine regularly, but as soon as that front right goes, or as soon as any of the front suspension goes, the vehicle just rides a bit too low, and the oil pan gets clipped. Oh, that was not a line over that jump that you want to take, particularly. God damn it. I mean, otherwise, outside of that sort of suspension damage, car is not doing too badly. That's also not the line through there. I don't know how I was getting the van so cleanly over there. Although this probably couldn't do the same sort of thing as the van. It doesn't have the ride height for it. That back end, very much wanting to let go. I mean, we're not going quick enough for it to be a big problem. You get enough time to sort of catch the slides here, dunk it in the water, try and cool the car down a bit. I mean, even if we ignore the oil pan going, the engine probably is going to get a bit hot because we are working a very old car incredibly hard around here. Oil is overheating. Well, interestingly, oil is overheating before it said low on oil. So, again, it might be just a small rupture. We can deal with that. Well, I say we can deal with that. There's nothing we can do. We can just keep going. Keep making distance, if at all possible. Ooh. We do seem to have started losing some power, perhaps. Maybe we're just bouncing around awkwardly. Steering has gone a little bit. Just a bit squiffy down here. Oh, yeah, that front right is really hurting now. Over the jump we had, we are really down on power. Now the engine is starved of oil. It's dying. The engine in this was never likely to survive as long as the H Series' engine when things are going wrong. It's definitely starting to hurt. It's definitely starting to lose some power through this. Up and over we go for the Miramar. At the moment, it's now just keep the car going. Just keep momentum up. Even if it's going to hurt the suspension on the landing, it doesn't matter at all anymore. I say it hurt the suspension. Even if there's, a big chance of wrecking the front end, tearing off wheels, or going way too quick over these, I've just got to keep the momentum up. I don't think we're actually going... well, the engine broke anyway on that roll. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. We can roll the car onto its wheels. It just, yeah. Once the oil pan was gone, which was always likely to be a problem with this car, the damage on the suspension just left it left it hanging sort of too low. It's not actually as damaged as I thought it was. Just enough for the speed bump to take out that oil pan, and yeah, the engine is not strong enough whatsoever, which is understandable, really, to keep going. The Miramar has ended up as a funny shape. There's no doubt about that. But the Miramar is very much dead. So we move on to the leaderboard, and there are no massive changes up at the top. The van will move into 4th place, in fact very close with the Piccolina. It was about a corner before. The distance is a kind of rough estimate in terms of distance, owing to wheel spin and so on, messing with the calculations, which is why you see a little bit of variation. But the van went a pretty good way. Went surprisingly far on a busted oil pan, actually. That was the more impressive thing in many ways from that one. The Miramar, I mean, it's not a terrible showing from that particular vehicle. Hell, considering it's not far off what Aroma achieved, that's actually quite good for the little Miramar in all of this, but the engine was just not the strongest. And the Vertex rally car, well, that would go into 10th place. That was a disappointing performance. I was not expecting that at all. I didn't think the rally car would even maybe challenge the top 3, but nope, the drive shaft went on the 2nd lap. And the wheel was problematic from the get-go, so yeah, I mean, it's sometimes just how it goes with these. Sometimes an unlucky bump, an unlucky jump, something like that can cause grief for a vehicle. But yeah, the Vertex did not have a great run. But there we go. That is going to be it for this video. If you would like to have a go with these mods, I'll put a link to them in the description so you can download them and have a go with them yourself. But that is going to be it from me. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.